Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Michael Tellerino. I'm the CEO and founder of K9 for Veterans. Tonight we have a special guest, Terri Arnone. Am I
Yes.
pronouncing that correctly?
Yes.
And my co-host, Jillian Jans. Terri is with Honor a Veteran, and I'm going to ask Terri to start off by telling us just a little bit about what Honor a Veteran does and how you got. First of all,
how you honor the veterans.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the program.
Well, it got started by celebrating veterans and welcoming them home. There were so many stories I would hear about the Vietnam War veterans never being welcomed home. My family is mostly veterans from all branches of the military, and my husband works for Rosemont. He's a public safety
Rosemont Police Department.
Yes.
Okay.
So I engaged with him and asked him who I could contact about celebrating veterans during their music programs on holidays.
Mm-hmm.
So they contacted me back and said, of course, we'd love to have you. And I started to work with the veterans I already knew, and then asking them to come on stage. I then have gifts for them. My mom makes Afghans, and
Nice.
we give them, we talk about what branch they're in, their name, and ask the crowd to engage them back and welcome them home as they deserve.
It's fantastic.
We were just at one of your, well, actually two of them. You invited us to the Rosemont, I guess it was.
Yes.
And what was the name of that? That was for the
That was the Honor of the Veteran,
Honor
Welcome
of
Home.
Welcome
Yeah,
Home,
we
and you
welcome
provided
them
us
home.
medals and stuff like that, and you had our veterans there.
Yes.
And then recently we were at a baseball game, Dogs, and you have their hat on.
Yes.
And you asked me to throw out the first pitch, and I thought, well,
Oh my goodness, how did you do?
I don't ask. In fact, on the post on Facebook, I put "Watch at your own risk," and I practiced the day before. But anyway,
Maybe next time we'll have the dogs do it then.
yeah, right. It was such an awesome event and such an awesome honor to be asked to do that. Your organization, I mean, you're not a not-for-profit,
No.
so you're not doing this for any funding. You go out and you do this just to honor our veterans.
You just
Yes.
care.
Yes.
That's amazing. So you've got a huge heart. It's in the right place. You're honoring our veterans, and there's no motivation in it for
And
you
you're honored.
other than to honor a veteran.
Yes, I don't ask for any money, no funding.
Right.
If I believe the day I need to start asking for funds, I lose my authenticity and what it means for me to honor veterans and allow me to live the way of life I live every day and the way my family does. So I never want to negotiate that.
That's amazing. So what you're doing is strictly for the honor of a veteran.
Yes.
That's amazing. What do you have coming up? What's one of your events that you have coming up now?
So on August 22nd, we are hosting another Throw Out the First Pitch. We are working with a gentleman. He is through Allen Force. And that program I really like because, of course, they help with PTSD
Right.
and personal training and all-terrain vehicles. And there's many other programs that they have. So we're hosting a game night for Throw Out the First Pitch. It's not just for Allen Force veterans. It's for, K9 for veterans. It's also for the American Legion and any other veteran that would like to attend.
With-
The veteran gets in for free. We try to give one ticket for a family member. If you have small children, we try to cover those tickets as well. So we have about 50 people coming, and if there are people who would like to attend, you can reach me at my email address.
Why don't you tell us what that is?
That is honораveteranprogram@gmail.com. You can also find me on Honor a Veteran on Facebook.
Yeah, I think Blue is going to pull that up if I'm correct. Nope, not yet. Okay, she's not ready.
Okay,
That's
so
okay.
so how do you work with the other organizations? Like, what brings you to that partnership? Like the American Legion being there, and the K9s for veterans, and the Allen Force being the ones throwing out the first pitch. Like, what is the thing that starts the process of you talking to these specific organization?
How do you choose them?
Right.
Well, it's kind of the networking that you do. You build a relationship with veterans and you hear what they need. You hear their stories. You hear what their families need. And so I try to find places that I can build that relationship with and say, I need you to provide these services if you can and help our community. And I built a network of corporations and other individuals, and I try to be the liaison to, oh, you need this person? Let me make a couple of phone calls.
Okay.
And then I just bring people together. And then I try to keep the veterans and their families together, enjoying community at whether it's a Rosemont event or at the Chicago Dogs. Those are my huge major supporters. For good times that we can do something to have a good time and forget about the things that we worry about every day.
How do these organizations that you go to and ask for the support, how do they accept that? Are they readily accepting, like, oh yeah, you could take part in this, or?
Most of them are because I have built these relationships over a very long time.
I mean, there's 3 years, right?
Yes. And so I just, in fact, the current, my Kisselstein-Frankowiak Law Group, when I came in.
What was that?
I'm sorry, Kisselstein-Frankowiak Law Group. They're estate planning attorneys. And I work with them. I work for them. And when I was interviewing with them, I had brought my portfolio of the things I do for the veterans. And it was something they wanted to get involved with.
Right.
So they asked, how can we do this? And I said, well, veterans have PTSD, they have mental illness, they have a lot of physical incapacities, and they need powers of attorney. They need help with people to take care of their bills or get them to the doctor, help make them decisions. And then, of course,
Do they represent them with claims then and stuff like that too? Like if they're
no, we don't do that.
Okay.
We just do estate planning, which is trusts, wills,
Okay.
and
Now, they do that for a reduced rate, for,
a reduced rate.
Okay.
They do it at a reduced rate, and depending some are in a very
situation
precarious
pending, yeah.
situation. They will do them
that's
complimentary.
really great that they do that.
And they
You know.
support all the games. They purchase the tickets for all the dogs games.
Really?
Okay.
Yes.
So they're how you get the tickets that you're able to give to the veterans.
Yes.
Okay, that
Yes, so
That all
they say,
tracks
how
and
many
makes-
do you need, Terry? And, okay, not a problem. So they are quite my biggest fan.
That's
They are
awesome.
my biggest fan.
that's wonderful to be able to work with another business and then the veterans
Right.
groups in the community and put it all together for a good time for
Right.
families and
Terry, any military background in your family?
Yes. My uncle, my cousins, they're part of all branches of the military. So I've been exposed to it my entire life. I've been they get deployed, you miss them, they come back, they're not the same, and that's where, as a child, you grow it, and you try. As you get older, you understand what the problems
Right.
are. I have one uncle who served in Vietnam who is still struggling, and I remember the stories of him waking up and hiding behind a chair and thinking he's in combat, and I never forgot these things. So it was very important to me to make sure that I gave something back for them taking care of us.
Jill's husband, John,
I was about to
who's
say
one of our directors, Jill lives with that on a daily basis, PTSD.
one of the first few really impactful books that I read when we started getting involved with the vet center and their therapy for the PTSD and like the stuff that was really effective that has changed our life for the better was a book that they had given me. It was called Purple Heart Wives. It was written by the wife of a Vietnam veteran, and it was pretty much going over her understanding of his PTSD from the point of they have adult kids, they're in their later end of life, but he was seeking care that was finally making a difference, and all of a sudden they realized how much of his time in combat affected their entire lives. Like the kids would get so hurt and so upset, and their relationships with him weren't what they ever could have been because of something as simple as he would be mad that they were going to be late somewhere. And that was because when he was late on a route for his time over in Vietnam, that meant that somebody died because that was what he was in charge
Right.
of. So when he's at home, he doesn't transfer that because you're not thinking about it consciously. You're just got it back there. You're trained. That's what training does. And
Right.
Right.
something simple as that, like really just, it was a really good book, and it made me think of that because it's just growing up with that is something that we've now been able to touch on with children and the families and be
Right.
trying to take down that stigma. And
Do you run into that a lot, Tara?
Yes.
PTSD?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
within the veteran organization that you work with? Is that pretty prevalent?
It is. In fact, I had some friends during my childhood that after high school they went to into the military. When they returned, they were not the same, and
Yeah.
our engagement, our friendship was not the same. And sometimes things would trigger them to behave in a manner you were not accustomed to.
Right.
And then as time went by, if the friendship is important, you make it important enough to find out why they're
Right.
behaving
I
that
get
way.
That is a wonderful way to put that.
So,
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's
something
important.
that a lot
That's-
of people who are not like legally obligated to be with a person who they
Like a wife of a
right,
veteran
exactly.
with PTSD.
or a
Right.
biological
You do
family
make
member.
time.
Like you figure
Right.
it out or
Right.
or
Right.
bust. But
Yeah.
to be a friend that chooses to do that is something that I, as a wife, chose to do in my own way. But I really appreciate it on a friend level. Like especially, that's awesome. I admire that.
oh, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Terry, going forward, what do you see for Honor a Veteran? Where would you like to take this? What's the next level for you?
Is there a next level for you?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of moved very fast. I
You've
thought
done a
of
lot in
something
3
so
years.
simple as doing something that was a personal thing to give back. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting here today talking about it, which is very special to me, so thank you.
Well, it's our honor to have you here.
I would love to engage more with veterans and what they need. I've recently talked to a few veterans about grieving, families grieving, while even their family members are alive
Still
because
alive,
of the
absolutely.
PTSD. It's not the same. But I would love to build something that where is a resource for people to come, and whether it's a book or something, oh, I need these services, or provide a desk where they
So-
can come in and talk about what they need.
I like that book
Outreach.
idea. Sorry.
Outreach, yes.
Yeah, an outreach center. I think there needs to be more outreach centers for veterans because
I think there needs to be a veterans book library. that
yeah,
is-
I'm not knocking the VA, so let's get that straight. I'm not knocking the VA, but in my heart, I do not believe that they're doing everything they can to help our veterans. I think there's organizations out there like yourself and your organization that are doing such awesome things for our veterans. There's organizations like K9 that are providing service dogs to veterans that have PTSD.
And that's also why there is the vet centers, the veterans outreach centers themselves, so that they can work as their own liaison.
Right.
But they really need people like you who are actually in the community and not the veterans themselves and the families that are a liaison like in that way. So I don't know if you work with
That's why
any of your
it's
local
so
vet center,
important
but
doing what you do.
Well, I would like to work with local libraries and maybe set up a resource desk once a month somewhere where the people that I work with can sit at the desk for an
Right.
hour or something, and it's put out in the community, and you don't have to sign up. You can just walk in and say, I have a couple questions, and kind of have this desk just work itself out.
Right, right. And again, there's so many organizations out there right now that are doing so much for our veterans that, we didn't have back in the Vietnam era. We didn't have these organizations like yours and other groups and stuff like that. Thank God there's organizations out there today like Honor a Veteran.
that's what
just to
inspired
show,
you, right? Like
yeah,
that was
just to show these veterans that, somebody does appreciate what they sacrificed, their service to our country, and the sacrifices they make when they go and do service to our country. It's a big sacrifice. They're leaving their family
it's
behind.
unfathomable for
Yeah.
a civilian. I mean,
Yeah,
really and truly, it's not something that we can ever understand, but at
Yeah.
the very least we can acknowledge and try to be appreciative and
If
gracious.
you asked a civilian right now, look,
Hello.
stop your life, stop your life right now. I'm going to take your husband. I'm going to put him 5,000 miles away from home. He's going to be in a combat situation where you don't know if he's coming home or not. Okay, you're going to have to fend for yourself and your kids. But yet we do that every day with our veterans. It's amazing that they can do what they do, and that the support that we need to give them is never enough for that
that has
sacrifice
gone
alone.
on as long as it has without
Yeah.
the type of support that is needed is just
Right.
kind of dumbfounding. I mean, 20 years is enough time for a person to be in
Right.
the same war as their child. But that being said,
Isn't it amazing? 20 years we're in some of the same places.
but like I know that when it comes to like Vietnam era, I don't have the attachment to it that like I have with the Gulf War or something like that because I have a veteran
Right.
himself in there.
You lived it.
Right, and I don't want to try to place like understanding on that level with something that I don't. At the very least, though, I know that whenever I run into a Vietnam veteran, I always make it a point to say, "Welcome home."
Shake their
And
hand, thank them for their
No
service.
matter what, like it's nothing else other than hearing they're a Vietnam veteran,
Right.
and I just say, "Welcome home." And I can't tell you how many have just been taken aback because they were never welcomed home.
And I think that's why it's so important what Honor a Veteran is doing.
It is.
Because we can't thank our veterans enough.
And we
your
can't fix
organization,
the whole system as a whole, like, overnight. And it's something that's doing something and making a difference and an impact, and it's doing it on a very wonderful scale without it being about
think
itself.
What touched me the most is most veterans that I contact to ask them to please come to the Rosemont event for their medal and their gifts and,
was so
and their
honored to be there,
recognition is they say, I don't deserve this, someone else does before me. It's heartbreaking to me. And I tell them, no, they aren't. They are the most important thing.
Right.
And I want them to engage and I want them to participate. So when I have watched, there was one veteran who just was afraid to even come up on the stage. When he came up, he smiled. I'll never forget it. It was the best night that I had because there was just no way he
Right.
felt he wasn't worthy.
There's a humility that comes with
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
guys that is just ingrained in
amazing.
them, and at the same
Yeah.
time, it's necessary to be honoring to
Our,
them.
our vice president, Reggie Latuca,
Oh, Reggie.
probably had the best conversation with the veteran. She thanked him for his service. And he looked at her, and most veterans will say, well, I do it again or
They
whatever.
brush it off.
He
Yeah.
looked at her straight in the eye and says, you know what? You were worth it.
Oh, I love it.
I mean, to me, when Reggie told me that, it just struck a chord
That's
with
amazing.
me. That is probably the best thank you
The best
that a
response to
veteran
that, yeah.
could pay to a citizen who hasn't served, that you were worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I still think about it, and it just amazes me that he came back with that. It was
So
so
awesome.
Beautiful.
so awesome. It really
Yeah.
was. But again,
That's-
we can't thank our veterans enough for what they do. And your organization, God bless, is all about the veterans.
Thank you.
There's no other hidden agenda. There's no motive. You're not even in the limelight. It's all about you put your organizations like K9, Allen Force, you put them up front. You
Yes,
make
sir.
them visible.
And
It's
then their
not.
veterans
It's not.
become
Yeah. It's
visible in
not
turn.
like look at honor a veteran.
Right,
We're
look at
honoring
me,
this
I'm
one.
honoring a veteran, right.
Yeah. It's all about who you're honoring, and that's what I feel is so great about your organization.
Thank you.
You're not looking for that personal recognition to say, "Hey, here I am, and this is what we're doing." It's all about the veterans, and that's
So
what
lo-
makes you
that's-
so unique.
That's really, I mean, truly, yeah, I can say that from over the years working with a lot of different organizations,
Yeah.
that a lot of the time that's what you find out eventually,
Yeah.
is that it's about the recognition that honoring a veteran gets somebody. And I mean, it's par for the course, especially with as involved with the nonprofits as we are, but it's something that to truly see somebody who's as just humble as you are, to like be so involved in everything and not at all trying to forward your own agenda or anything other than
We-
honest honoring
We have a
veteran.
lot of guests on our show.
We do.
And that, that do some really great things
Right.
for veterans. We really do. When I talked to you and I got to know you and your organization, I was so taken back by your motivation for what you're doing. That's what sets you apart from everybody else that we worked with. There's no hidden agenda.
And
It's
you
all
carry yourself
about-
that way too, like
Yeah.
just your
You're-
everything about you. You're
Yeah, it's all about our veterans, which is
genuine
to me,
and awesome, and who
Exactly.
we are too. We're all about helping our veterans. So
I
that's
think
Thank you.
she's going to pull up your website because I want people to be able to go to your Facebook page. I think it blew. She just had it up there.
Okay.
But anyway, like every other organization, I'm sure you need volunteers.
Yes. We
Tell
do.
us about what your volunteers have. And
tell us what you need.
Yeah.
So I need volunteers. So when we go do the events, I need people to keep track of things, track of tickets, track of guests. We do clothing drives, toiletry drives, men and women. We also put little veteran tags on Christmas trees in local businesses and whatever they're willing to give.
Right.
At Christmas time, in my home and at Thanksgiving, you have to come to my house. You have to bring gloves and socks so I can drop them off with the veterans. But right now
Yeah.
I'm engaging with Maine West High School if there are
Okay.
and their National Honor Society. And they are using us as for their hours, but they've engaged and now they like to do it just because they like to do it.
So once they do their hours,
They
they
get the
realize
buzz, yeah.
what you're all about, and they want
Yes.
to come back and just do it because they want to do it.
Correct.
You know, that's really,
Correct. And of course, they would be participating in the events. And what I love about engaging with the younger generation is they are learning about veterans, they are learning the importance, and now it becomes an important part of their lives.
They've
so I'm
invested.
touching the next generation because I feel that legacy is not what you leave in a dollar, but what you leave in someone's heart. And when you're gone, you want someone to
Right.
think of you and say, they left good in the world. And that's
and
what
I
I
think
do.
that's why it's so important. You know, when a young kid sees a veteran, you know, when they wear that baseball cap that shows that they were in the military.
But they
Teach your-
understand that sacrifice that
Yeah,
was made.
teach your
And
kid to go up and shake their hand, thank them for their service.
So I have a daughter who she was 3 years old at the airport when the what was it called, the hero, the flight,
Oh yeah,
the Vietnam Wall, no,
Right.
the World War II one. Anyway, regardless, there was like 300 guys
Honor
there.
flight.
Honor flight. Thank you. 300 guys there. We're about to fly to Florida to Disney World, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and my daughter goes and shakes every one of their hands, and that's something that I'm proud and almost in a sense just gonna have to accept.
And knowing her the way I do, I
It's-
can see her
right.
doing that.
And then her little brother would be behind her now, and I know that at the very least I'm starting with my own generation because if nobody else does it, we'll do
It's
it.
such,
but-
such a simple gesture.
Right,
it's-
Come on. If you see a veteran, teach your kids to go up and shake their hand.
It's these
It
guys
doesn't
who
cost you anything.
jumped on a beach and
It's a
fought
respect.
for World War II for everything that we have now, and it's the least you can do.
I've taught my children to do that. In fact, they're the ones that my
Skylar's
husband
waving.
and Skylar, I'd say I
Oh,
have
over
him
my blue outfit, I
shake
like it.
hands and
We're gonna have
introduce him to
we're gonna
veteran
have
too.
little Skylar come out because right there is the next generation.
Yes, as you
It
see,
is.
he's dressed for it
Why don't
too.
you come out with Skylar? Why don't we get him out here now? Skylar's just too cute.
Thank
And like I
you.
said,
It's
Just,
it's
uh,
really about teaching them how to be appreciative of.
okay, we've got 2 minutes, so I want to introduce Skylar. Go to Grandma.
Look at TV.
And I'm sorry, this is Richard, your husband.
Yes,
I
it is.
apologize.
How you doing, Michael?
Richard, thanks for joining us
You're
tonight.
welcome.
And like I said, this is Skylar, our
This is
next
Skylar.
generation.
Yes.
Can you say
Thank
hi?
you for being here. Can you say hi, Skylar?
Say hi.
Say hi.
Look. You're on
Look
TV.
at you on TV, Skylar.
See you.
Say hi.
Say hi.
Anyway,
Say hi.
I can't, and your husband.
Okay.
I mean, Richard, you go for this. You
Yes.
deal with this. God
And
bless
thank you for your service too
Yeah,
with the
thank you
police
for
and
your
everything.
service. Yeah,
20
for the
years.
20 years police department.
Part-time, yes.
That's
Oh my
that's
goodness.
amazing. It really is. I mean, so it just goes to show. I mean, he allows you to do this. Not that he
Yes.
allows you.
Yes.
I don't want to say allows you, but
Yes.
he supports what you're doing.
Yes, and he's part of it. As you can see, my shirt. This is our first event, and he's right in the center. And this is the rest of my family and all the veterans we
God
honored
bless.
the first time. And it was and it's grown into so much.
Okay, one more time. I
Yeah.
want you to tell people how they could find you on Facebook.
Okay.
And a phone number where they could reach you.
Okay, you can find me on Facebook for Honor a Veteran. If you can't locate that, my name is Terri Arnone, and you can friend me on my personal page. My phone number is 224-318-6237.
And if you didn't catch any of that, message us on K9.
Yeah,
We'll
get us
send
on
you a code.
K9. I'll be more than
We'll get you
happy to put you in touch with Terri. Terri has done so much to help K9, and we had a conversation earlier. She's going to be doing so much more
Yes, yes.
for K9. So I want to thank
Oh, you
you
wanna meet her?
for having us on tonight, for having you on tonight as our
Thank you
guest.
so much.
It's
I'm so
been a
grateful.
Have a
great,
good
great
Thursday,
show.
right? It's
Okay.
Thursday?
Thank you.
Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank you so much.
You have a great evening, and watch for us next week. Thank you.